Telling a story isn't about perfection, it's about communication. It's about our shared moments together. Hi, my name is Jeff Price, and I would like to welcome you to Intentional Musicianship, where we look at everything that goes on at center stage and the preparation behind the scenes needed to transform your performance into an unforgettable experience. I am here to encourage you, support you, and generally have a great time being united together with you through music. After a wonderful performing career as a storytelling musician around the globe, my joy is found empowering musicians to find the freedom to go beyond the music stand and the fourth wall of the concert stage to better engage with their audience members. This podcast isn't a classroom, it's a brainstorming session, and it is meant for musical performers of all ages. Together, we'll explore performance practice, stagecraft, the nuances of storytelling, and the strategies for genuine audience engagement. We're here to discover what truly makes a live performance resonate. To start this episode, which is all about creating a storyboard, I want to look at an old music video from the 1980s. And the most popular music video from this time when I was growing up was Michael Jackson's Thriller. Everything from the music to the videography to all the direction made it truly an epic performance. Plus, you had Vincent Price with that final postlude. The piece had these special effects and makeup for the zombies, great music and choreography, and it was all planned out and treated like a full-length feature film. It was really created with the audience in mind. Now, I bring this up to ask you how you see your creative process when you're developing your show. Are you like one of those old-time movie directors that has that stereotypical pose looking through hands to envision the performance from what the audience sees on stage? I think to some degree we have to get to that production side of our musicianship to be really intentional with our live performance. Also, I think one of the best ways to break down our anxiety, performance phobias, or any fears of the unknown like a new show or a new performance is just to sketch out what we're going to do. Once you sketch it out, your show really starts to really develop and it really gains steam. Now, you might sketch out a storyboard on a piece of paper. You might start with a list of bullets or concepts. You might go chronologically from the start to an endpoint. You might have different scenes that you create on index cards that you shuffle through. You may address your music and how you want to perform it. You can address the staging and talk about how you transition from one piece to the next piece to the next, all the way to the end. You can decide how detailed you want to be in the process. And don't worry, you can always revisit. Now, because I brought up Thriller, which in many ways was in honor of all those suspense thrillers and horror movies from the 50s and 60s, I can bring up a master of storyboarding, and that's the director Alfred Hitchcock. He is the fellow that did things like The Birds and Psycho and Vertigo, Charade, and my favorite, North by Northwest. My understanding was that he was quite an artist, and when he was getting ready to direct one of his movies, he would sketch out the script and storyboard every scene from start to finish. He would try to capture his vision for what he was trying to achieve for the audience. Now, imagine how random these movies might be without anybody taking time to create those suspenseful moments. You might get pretty fortunate about how you're doing things with the writing or how good the actors are. And, if things go wrong just perfectly, it might work. But I think his analysis really honed his craft and made those movies really special for us. In the same way, imagine how you might storyboard your performance to create that special, intentional moment for your fans. That written music can only take you so far in live performance. And again, that production has real value in your performance. And we need to be really deliberate to look at how we're performing and telling our stories on the stage so that we can connect with our audience. Nowadays, I mostly just busk around the area, but when I get called for a show or even when I go out on the street, I'm trying to walk through every possibility that's going to happen at the show and how I'm going to engage the audience. Now, one thing I might do is just have a master list with lots of brainstorm bullet points that might come up and why I'm performing at the show. Like who is it for? What's it for? What do I want to accomplish in the show? What are my resources? What's my budget? What kind of special resources do I need to pull this thing off? What things do I have in my personal toolkit that I can bring out for this show to be really effective? I might look at things that I've been working on and identify what my audience would really like. And figure out a way to sell the most effective musical presentation that best represents me in hopes that I might have more audience engagement. Storyboarding is just one method that makes sure we're on point in our first best goal to engage the folks that come to our shows. Now, one thing with this storyboarding that I like to look at first is something as simple as programming. Again, I'm looking at what the expectations are for the event. I'm looking at things like the culture and my audience. I'm trying to be as diverse as possible with my selections. I'm trying to bring the audience some really special, cool things that maybe they didn't expect or have never heard of before. I'm going to look at the event for opportunities to employ every manner of communication to create great moments during the show. I might notice in my planning that I might need to go into my toolbox of things that I've learned over all my past performances. And I know each of us have special things that we've seen and we can recreate. I might decide I need to pull out an extra instrument or bring a guest in or change the tempo up for a different selection I might want. I might have to play something special just to highlight someone or something in the audience. I might have to look at the timing and I might have to look at seeing how much of an emotional burden I'm putting on my audience. I want to check where all those big emotional moments are. And then I'm going to ask myself if maybe I'm pulling the audience too much like a yo-yo. I might have to look at the transitions and I might have to look at some of the norms of the area, like having an intermission so they can sell things or restroom breaks. Or, just in general, I might need to recover. Maybe I'd like to take time to provide some information to the audience. And maybe sometimes I have to use sleight of hand or some distraction between the pieces, maybe like using a video. Or maybe that's where I'm going to creatively monologue between a piece so that I can take a breather and also just allow the audience to relax. Now, once I have a storyboard of the basic program and the timings and the transitions, I'm going to make sure I go into that musical contrast. I'm going to see how I can sell each of these pieces effectively with the audience. I might have to go look at how I might have to use some physical performance and some movement or some extra eye contact to highlight what I'm doing. I might have to figure ways out that maybe I can really create a moment with some extra use of some musical expressions, like some more rubato or something. Because I really might need to sell one of those pieces at that special moment to really make it go over. Sometimes I just might want to highlight some of this technical skill so I can show off a little bit and showcase the piece or some of my special capabilities of my particular way that I perform, or just the specialty of my instrument that I'm playing on. I'm looking at all these ways that I can to accentuate the music and really engage the audience. Again, after something really heavy, maybe I'm going to revisit my storyboard and my program, and maybe I'm going to have to bring this concert back to a light, wonderful place. And these are the things that you can do within your storyboard by revisiting. You can always try new things in new places of your storyboard. And I love playing with those what if scenarios with my shows. This kind of brainstorming is really healthy for you, and it can be a lot of fun. Now, one thing I always look at with my storyboard is the staging of the show. You want to look at how you're using that stage. Now, all roads lead to center stage. Again, that's not my phrase. I think that's Tom Jackson, but it could be somebody else. But, center stage is this incredible, special place. But you're free to explore the entire stage as it can bring out your inner thespian. And you can try to use this space to sell your sound. And there's no doubt, as I talk about the physicality of music or what you're doing, the audience is going to hear with their eyes. Now, if everything comes from center stage and every piece that you play looks the same, then maybe you're missing an opportunity to connect with others in the audience. For example, Here's a stolen exercise from an old teacher that you can try. By the way, I don't have any original ideas. They're just compiled by watching great teachers and colleagues. So, video your performance or your concert and then turn down the volume. Randomly go to a section of your concert and see if you can identify by stopping or pausing on the recording where you are in your show. Can you tell where you are? There's something special about making each piece look different. That variety, that diversity, it can really keep a crowd engaged. I highly recommend that everyone tries this because I think it's a really cool way to diversify your program. The next thing you may ask is, what could you do to make each piece in your show more engaging with the audience? Within the context of your hour show, maybe for a high school, a middle school, or maybe a recital, you're going to have a variety of pieces. And you're going to try to figure out how you can make each one of them more engaging for the audience. Now, if you have a lot of people, you're going to have to get really creative and brainstorm. Maybe you might bring up soloists or sections to play. I know one really cool thing we used to do at the start of a concert, we'd have fifes and drums come out to the front, and then the rest of us would just come out behind them. It was a nice sleight of hand, but it's a great way to get the audience involved with something because they're listening to a thing that they like Yankee Doodle, and everybody likes watching the drums and the fifes play. Then we might bring vocalists to stage right, and we would ask the audience as they were able to join us as we sang their state song or maybe their national anthem. And then we would immediately sit, and then we would go on and continue with our show. And, we play something easy that we could get the people engaged with the show. So when you're using your staging, you're trying to effectively use this left and the right side of the stage. Now, when you're storyboarding, it's cool because you can check to see how each piece is working, and you're doing a little checkbox and you're saying, well, that's stage center. And then you can look, well, it looks like I've been putting all my soloists on stage right. And then you can also quickly see if maybe stage left, nothing ever happens. And then you can see an opportunity that the stage opens up. And if you use downstage left or downstage right, maybe that's the way you can diversify your program. I really like the storyboard so I can see visually what's happening on the stage at all times. And I can try to troubleshoot ways and opportunities that I can just develop the show and just add a little bit more punch. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't do those kind of shows. Maybe I'm a little bit more introverted. My job and role is to just get on stage, play my music, and then move along. And I get it. But I think there can be some opportunities lost with that mindset. I think even within the most simple show, I believe you can find that opportunity to build on that relationship with your audience. For example, you would know if you happen to be a cocktail bar pianist, the kind of pieces that you're going to play and where you're going to put them and what kind of things you're going to have to do to really sell your set so you can achieve maximum success and get the most tips. I know as a military performer, we'd always have some sort of patriotic tribute at the end of the show that we're expected to play. And I wonder, from your experience, what things you might have experienced that will really sell your show really well. When you create moments for your audience that are designed just for them, I bet they're going to quickly realize it and they're going to be really appreciative. That's why I love storyboarding. It can be so effective as we plan and sketch out and make our visions become reality. It's fun to ponder on these things to really figure out if some of these ideas are really going to work. But don't worry if you don't hit a home run with your great idea. Some things just don't work. I've had many failures. And what do? You just pack up, you go to the next show, you unpack, and you try to communicate with that next audience even more effectively. For me, I really look deep within a movement or the things that I'm playing that are prominent during each show or each piece. And I might find those things that are really important and I mark them in my storyboard and I make sure that I do something with them. Again, I bet when this engaged, appreciative fan base now has the choice to follow you and engage with you in the future or to buy your merchandise or be a part of your musical journey, I bet this will not be a wasted effort. Now, for those of you who think maybe this is too much planning for your show or that you want to be free and you want to be able to improvise and be in the moment, I just want to say that as I think that the more you plan and prepare, that this will then allow you to be more free as you may have already thought through these possibilities and you know when to strike when that moment arrives. Culturally, you might not be able to do quite as much as you'd like in the live performance, but there are things that you can always do within your storyboarding process that can make you a better musician and a better communicator. And it can really help you in your purpose-filled approach to storytelling. Now, if you can figure out how you might approach your program so that you enhance your communication, I again guarantee it's going to pay dividends when you have that call to action for people to sign up for your mailing list or support you in a fundraiser or invite you back for another concert. Now, in closing, regardless if you have a bulleted brainstorm list or a detailed flow map of everything that happens on stage, I believe that if you take that opportunity to rotate through each piece one, then piece two, and then piece three, and then you look for all these special moments that you can address, or if you just map out the staging or the bowing and the transitions so that they all make sense within context of the show and what the audience is doing, I think that extra work will pay dividends because you're going to now have peace of mind. You will know that show will better match your vision in the same way that that movie director looks through that camera lens, that they know that what they're seeing is going to be understood by that audience. You're going to understand how the things fit into this larger picture and how you're trying to not just play the technical parts of your show, but how you're going to create this very special event for the gathered spectators that are soon to be your lifelong fans. That's it for today's episode. We hope that some of the topics and issues addressed today will be useful to you as you move forward in your musical journey. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for joining us today. We know your time is precious, and we really appreciate that you have taken the time to listen to us today. Consequently, we'd like to hear from each and every one of you. You can reach out and connect with us at intentionalmusicianship.com. My hope is that we build a community where we can encourage one another through our mutual experiences performing live music. I look forward to connecting with each of you again on the next episode of Intentional Musicianship.